Dr. Harvey, we're going to talk about your university, but I also want to talk about another role that you serve that deals with the world of historically black colleges and universities. You are the chairman of the President's Board of Advisors on this. Could you tell us about that organization and what its purpose is?
The chief reason for being for us is to be an advocate for the very good work that so many of our historically black colleges and universities are doing.
As part of the work you do and the board, talk a little bit about some of the issues that you're dealing with, not only related to your own university, but other universities as well. And is the White House responsive to those issues?
We do have some concerns on a number of issues.
On the topic of financiers, Dr. Harvey, talk a little bit about Pell Grants. There were some changes made to the Pell Grant system which would affect all universities, but particularly how do they affect HBCUs?
You might remember that the Parent Plus loans program was dramatically changed without any real input from any of us. And again, I must say that Secretary Duncan has been very responsive to us as it relates to trying to work through some of the issues. But it was a significant change. And the law requires that there be public hearings before there is a significant change. A little bit of foresight would have been helpful there. Well, the Pell Loan program is the same. So I'm saying that I think the advice and counsel of the people that are appointed to provide advice and counsel up front might have helped a lot.
How do you sell Hampton to students that are considering your college to other colleges that they may be able to go to?
Hampton is a wonderful institution. We were founded in 1868 by Brigadier General Samuel Chapman Armstrong on some very strong principles. We say that what we do is to provide the very best education possible under any circumstances and compared to any institution. That's number one. And number two, we believe very strongly in character development, and we don't apologize for that. We believe in honesty and integrity and responsibility, taking responsibility for one's actions, respect for oneself, respect for others. And in today's world, we think that these things are just as important as they were when General Armstrong founded a place in 1868. We are on a peninsula here in Virginia. We have water on 3 sides of our campus. We think that it's the prettiest campus anywhere, bar none. And I think that that's one of the things that sells itself. We have a wonderful alumni association. They provide financial support. They provide recruitment support, and they provide their prayers for us. So down through the years, Hampton has always had some of the movers and shakers in this country associated with us. John Rockefeller was on our board. George Eastman, who was the patriarch of the Eastman Kodak. Coleman DuPont, the founder of the DuPont fortune, just as examples. Margaret Mead, and we've had always 5 or 6 Fortune 500 company CEOs associated with us. So our legacy is one of high quality, not just quality, but high quality. And the fact that that we talk about character so often, we feel that that's important. And as I said, we really do not apologize for that. Last year, as an example, when some schools were hurting, majority and minority, Hampton received about 19,000 applications for about 1,000 positions in our freshman class. A lot of that has to do with our curricular offerings. You know, we have strong business, we've got pharmacy, we've got physical therapy, we've got nursing, we've got a strong liberal arts undergirding. So our academic program is very strong. And the insistence on character development, that resonates with a lot of people. The fact that we have a strong extracurricular activity program. Every year, Hampton University wins championships. Even in the last Olympics, we had 2 young ladies that competed. Our women's basketball team has won the conference championship for the last 5 years. The women's softball team won it last year. The volleyball team won the championship last year. So if you look at all of those things, starting with academics, and then you look at the character development that I've come back to 3 or 4 times and probably will come back to again, because, as I said, we unapologetically push that in our young people. You know, one of the things that I tell our young folk, and by the way, I meet with students once a month, the student leaders, and that's the SGA, president, vice president, other officers, the class presidents, and others, the editor of the student newspaper, the editor of our yearbook, and so forth. So we meet with our students often, and we talk about the kinds of things that I'm talking about here. And I tell them that it's so very important, no matter what they do when they leave Hampton, become a doctor, lawyer, businessman or woman, whatever. It's so important for them to not just mouth the words of giving back to their community. They must be of service.
Gotcha.
And we teach that, we preach that, and that goes a long ways.
Good morning, Dr. Harvey. I did not attend a historically black college, but my children did. I went to Purdue, and one thing I can say about the HBCUs, the students seem to have a camaraderie that did not exist for a black student, especially one who was not attending a typical college curriculum. I did have an opportunity to visit your campus when my young people were looking at schools. Our Jack and Jill of America had a teen conference there, and you have a drop-dead gorgeous campus. I was not even aware of that when I was looking at schools in the 70s that you existed.
Dr. Harvey, I also attended Hampton University. Hampton University did a marvelous job in physics, and that you're doing great research right now, even to this day. But I'm concerned about our HBCUs. We're losing our physics department, accreditations, and so forth.
I absolutely agree with you as it relates to the STEM fields. And we did have the first PhD program in physics. We got about 8 PhDs, about 24 master's degrees, and about 72 bachelor degrees. But as it relates to STEM, the fact is that we need to get more minorities into STEM. The fact also is, unfortunately, there was a National Science Foundation report just last month which indicated that support for STEM education from the federal government to HBCUs was down. And you know, it just makes no sense, because if you talk about the fact that that you want to get more folk in the STEM fields, you talk about the fact that you want to be able to get to be #1 again as it relates to baccalaureates in the world. We used to be, now we're not. You can't get there without HBCUs. Just can't do it. You can't get there without the Hamptons of the world. Can't get there. So I just wish that those policymakers could understand that. You know, you say one thing out of one side of your mouth, and then you do something else that that doesn't support the contention that you're making.
Can you talk a little bit about the continuing need for HBCUs in America?
There's no doubt in my mind that there is an acute need for us to continue. I talked a little earlier about the fact that some of the broader goals can't be done without HBCUs. We being HBCUs, probably train more low-income and disadvantaged students than any other subset. It does not mean that schools like Hampton do not get the very best and the brightest, because we do. Hampton does. But the thing that I say to people is that HBCUs, just like minority institutions, are not a monolith. Some of us are very good, some of us are poor, most of us are in the middle. Hampton happens to be one that's very, very good. And I'll take this time to illustrate the point. We have a $225 million proton beam cancer treatment center. It's the largest in the world. I'm not talking about cancer research. We do cancer research. I'm talking about cancer treatment. We're treating prostate, breast, lung, ocular, pediatric, head, neck, and brain cancers. Since we started, we have treated over 1,000 patients. We're easing human misery, and we're saving lives. And even as I talk to you today, Hampton has 3 satellites flying. We won a competitive $140 million contract from NASA. That satellite was put up several years ago. It's still flying. That's 3. You've heard me say on this interview that we've got schools of pharmacy, physical therapy, and business, and nursing, and so forth. So these things are so very, very important. But now everybody doesn't have that, and that's okay. But if you talk about the universe of HBCUs, there is no doubt in my mind that not only would we be where we are today as a race, but where this country and the world wants to go in the future without HBCUs. Last comment on this point. I'm told that by the year 2018, that the majority, white people, will be the minority, and that people of color, currently the minority, will be the majority. So the fact is that there still is a crying need for HBCUs, and certainly schools like Hampton that emphasize high quality, high academics, yet at the same time we do not turn our backs on others. I'll give you a quick example. When I came here, one of the things that I instituted was that 20% of our freshman class will go to those students who do not meet normal admissions requirements. Now that means 80% is pretty competitive, and I mean competitive with, you name it, the Harvards, the Yales, the Stanfords, you know, you name it. But also, I know that so many of us, including myself, would not be where we are today if somebody had not given us an opportunity. So I believe in giving opportunity. So 20% of our freshman class is reserved for those students who do not meet normal admissions requirements for a Hampton University. I'm very proud of that, just as I'm very proud of the 80%. Now, a quick follow-up on that. We chart these students, and I'll tell you what we find. Freshman year, the 80% is up here, and the 20% is down here. That gap starts to narrow sophomore year, junior year, senior year. You can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference in the academics. You can't tell the difference in their comportment. About the same percentage get sent home for getting into trouble. The same percentage flunk out. So the fact is that what that says to me is that a great deal is environmental. And if you can come to a place like Hampton, where you can get tutorials, you can get the kind of nurturing, you can get yet still the high academics, that's something to strive for. Folk know what the expectations are, and it doesn't make any difference how you came in, it's how you leave.
And Dr. Harvey, we're going to have to leave it there. Dr. William Harvey, the president of Hampton University, joining us on our C-SPAN bus. Dr. Harvey, thank you for the time and talking with us this morning.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I have enjoyed it. And I want to thank your listeners for calling in, and I think that every question was a great question, so I thank them as well.